I'm not making any money. This is for educational purposes only. Fair use. Fair use.
All glory, Kahaloyim, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha HaKodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom. To your sisters, you achwathim, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. This your brother Aram Yahawada with the lesson. This is a Daily Mail. Trump furious at Israel for destroying Iran oil fields as crude surges and planned summit crashes or collapse, right? Trump is furious at Israel target Iran's oil deposits in a blitz that shocked the White House amid soaring oil prices, right? Basically saying, yeah, you're going to have to pay more at the tank, and they're trying to make it a reason why you have to pay more at the tank. And now, they're putting it off on someone else. That's their classic thing. That's their classic thing to do. It's just to put it off on someone else. Oh yeah, by the way, yeah, I don't have it's so and so fault. Well, any other time you could put someone to judgment. You know, it's just a oops. Oh, that's okay. Well, it's their fault. They did it, and now that's why. And there's you just got to live with it. No, that's not good enough, man. Right? You need to fix that. You need to fix it. You need to put the gas prices back the way it was. Matter of fact, cheaper. Put it back. I mean, you took Venezuela. They got the biggest oil reserve. There's no reason why gasoline shouldn't be $1 a gallon again. Back the way it was. Since you're Mister 1980s guy, since you think it's still the 80s, well, the prices need to reflect that, right? But hey, it is what it is. It's to bring in that Novos Ordo Seclorium, the order out of chaos, right? Because this is what's going to bring chaos. It's going to make the prices go up, which people are already complaining about groceries. So what do you think is going to happen? To bring in groceries, it takes those diesels to get fueled up in order to deliver it to your homes or to the grocery stores in order for you to get it home, right? Yeah, so basically it says a planned summit. Summit means mountaintop. So basically they're on top. That's what they're saying. Hey, look, we're the top people. Between U.S. and Israel was scrapped on Monday, which is today, in the first opening disagreement between the allies since the war broke out. Agreement on what? Now they got a disagreement on what? Because the oil prices are going to go up, and you're going to pay a lot more. So now they're trying to make it look like now they had to spat between each other. And it's their fault. And they shot the thing, so now we're angry with each other. But then you're at the same time you're at war with each other. But you're not going to be angry about putting that money in your pocket, because that's all what this is about, right? Yeah. Since the disagreement since between the allies since the war broke out, 30 Iranian fuel deports were op, obliterated, right? Obliterated over the weekend, right? Which was your plan. This is planned. You know, this is planned. Planned with apocalyptic, man. Hey, it's about to get apocalyptic. As soon as Yahweh Shai show up, apocalyptic images showing fire leaping into the sky, vast clumps of smoke and black oil rained, right? White House officials were stunned by the scale of Israel's bombardment, yeah, and considered that image and concerned that the image of burning oil would anger Americans facing, right? See, that's all facing increased gas prices, and that's all they wanted to do, up to $3 and what 40 cents or whatever, 3.4 per gallon on average, compared to the 2.9 before the war started. Yeah, and this is their plan. This is their plan, right?
Lucrative. How can you believe a country that has a very lucrative history of false flags operations?
False flags operations.
Wait a second. What is going on?
First of all, you have the bombing of King David Hotel.
King David Hotel.
92 British soldiers were killed, and the people who did it were people from the Haganah gang, and they were dressed as Palestinians. And then 1994, the bombing of the Israeli embassy in London, it was done by Mossad.
Mossad had bombed their own embassy. Oh.
And then they nailed 2 Palestinians for it.
2 innocent Palestinians. Oh.
1 month after 9/11, which is the biggest false flag operation, in October 2001, there was an attack of the Mexican parliament by 2 Mossad individuals, and they were also pretending to be Palestinians.
Wow.
But they were discovered before the bombing.
Twice.
There's many of them.
How can you believe a country that has a very lucrative history of false flags operations?
That is not normal.
Or a freak. How can you believe a country that has a very lucrative history of false flags operations?
False flags operations.
Wait a second. What is going on?
First of all, you have the bombing of King David Hotel.
King David Hotel.
92 British soldiers were killed, and the people who did it were people from the Haganah gang, and they were dressed as Palestinians. And then 1994, the bombing of the Israeli embassy in London, it was done by Mossad.
Mossad had bombed their own embassy. Oh.
And then they nailed 2 Palestinians for it.
2 innocent Palestinians. Oh.
1 month after 9/11, which is the biggest false flag operation, in October 2001, there was an attack of the Mexican parliament by 2 Mossad individuals, and they were also pretending to be Palestinians.
Wow.
But they were discovered before the bombing.
Twice.
There's many of them.
How can you believe a country that has a very lucrative history of false flags operations?
That is not.
Yeah, so this is a AI overview. Just typed in usury in the Bible. AI overview says Bible strongly condemns usury defined in the Old Testament context as charging any increase on loans to fellow Israelites, right? So we have the so-called Israelis and the Christians, right? Because that's what they define themselves. So they will basically fit in this, because these people say they filled prophecy by being in the land, even though there's war going on, and the Lord said there should not be war anymore. But there's war going on, and neither should you be taught any war. But there's war, and there's people being taught of war as we speak, and there's all sorts of famine and pestilence and death throughout the entire world. Then you have these people who say they're Christians, so that they said they're spiritual Israelites, right? So wouldn't that fit under this category that you cannot you cannot increase on loans and goods and things, right? Exploitative of the poor on a breach of brotherly love. See, you're supposed to have that brotherly love, Israeli people, and you American Christian evangelicals, right? Key passages include, right? So you have the Exodus 22 and 5, Leviticus 25, 30, 35, the Deuteronomy 32 and 19, which prohibit increasing on what? On money, right? Which that's what they're doing, showing that they're not. That's why I did a lesson the other day saying you should know them by their fruits, because that proves that they're not the people. If there's this thing, which this whole thing is about America and Israel together, which that would be the so-called physical Israelites, and then you have the spiritual Israelites, and then y'all supposed to be joining forces together and doing these wars and fights and all these other things in between. That would mean that America and Israel are brothers, right? So the international bankers are these Israelis, right? So why are you putting usury on your brother America? Where's the brotherly love? You could just shoot up a oil field or oil reserves, and you chalk it up like, oh well, I guess you're just gonna have to pay more at the tank. Well, that's not according to the law, since you're supposed to be the people. You're supposed to be upholding the law, right? And it says on money, food, or any necessities, right? Oh, what did they just do to the farming loans, framing loans? What did they just do to the farmers? They raised the rates and let the crops go down, right? So these people owe money, and then they couldn't even recoup at least some of it by being able to sell because of what Trump did and allow Argentina to get that, right? But instead, what do? They framing loans as mutual aid. Ooh, right? That's what you do. Yeah, you form it as a mutual aid rather than profit. Rather than profit seeking. Yeah, profit seeking. Right? Because that's ultimately what they're doing. They are. Yeah, they're profit seeking. Yeah, that's what they're doing. But yeah, let's see. Matter of fact, this is Bible Hub, right? It's Exodus 22 and 1, Bible Hub, and it says a new international version right here. The first one says, "Whosoever steal an ox or a sheep and slaughter it or sell it must pay back 5 heads of cattle for the ox and 4 sheep for the sheep," right? So not only do you got to pay it back, you don't say, "Oh, here's your oxen for oxen or sheep for sheep." No, you gotta pay back 5 more oxens, right, and 4 more sheep, right? Because you're disturbing a man's lifestyle. Now his life got to be put on hold until you decide to you be able to get those things back. So that the Lord said, no, it's not just one for the one. Now you got to do 5 for that one, right? So you're just shooting a oil field and destroying people's livelihood. Doesn't cut it to go, oh well, you're just gonna have to pay gas. Well, you're supposed to be the people of God, man. What happened to that? What happened to you being the people of God? Right? If someone steals an ox, right? It says New Living Translation, someone steals an ox or a sheep and then kills or sell it, the thief must pay back 5 oxen for each one stolen. Woo! Right? And 4 sheep for each sheep stolen. So that's a lot. You gotta pay back. Right? If a man, just go back down to the King James. Well, even this Berean standard, it kind of keeps it, eat simple. It says, if a man steals an ox or a sheep and slaughter or sells it, he must repay 5 oxen for an ox, 4 sheep for a sheep, right? But here you are, you're the Israelis and you're the Christians, and you're supposed to hold up Bible values, and you could just shoot up a field and then and then pretend like Trump is angry, but really you're gonna fill your pockets, right? Because you're just basically using usury. If a man shall steal an ox or a sheep and kill it or sell it, he shall restore 5 oxen for an ox and 4 sheep for a sheep, right? So there's no way that gas price, you're messing up people's livelihood, right? Yeah, because even you, Esau, you know these things, right? And when you deal with I typed in, is it still illegal in 2026 to kill a man's horse, right? Which we know these days your horse is your car. That's why they tell you it has so many horsepower in the car, because you don't want to necessarily have horses now. It's your car. So, but you're still damaging someone's livelihood. You know what I mean? As far as even though it's not a horse, this is how people get around. So if you
Yes, it is absolutely still illegal in 2026 to intentionally kill or injure a horse that belongs to someone else in the United States. Such an action is considered a serious criminal offense, typically classified as a felony, and involves both property crime charges and animal cruelty charges. Here's what happens to you as of 2026 if you kill or injure a man's horse. 1. Criminal prosecution. 1. Felony animal cruelty. As of 2014, every state has felony provisions for animal cruelty. Intentionally killing or maiming a horse can result in a felony conviction. 2. Federal charges. PACT Act. Under the Federal Preventing Animal Cruelty and Torture (PACT) Act, if the act involves crossing state lines or occurs on federal property, it is a federal crime punishable by fines and up to 7 years in prison. 3. State-specific penalties. Penalties vary by state but are severe. For example, in Florida, it is a second-degree felony, punishable by up to 1 year of mandatory imprisonment and a $3,500 fine. In California, it can lead to 3 years in state prison and a $20,000 fine. And 4. Police horse protections. If the horse is a law enforcement animal, penalties are even higher, potentially resulting in 2 to 10 years in prison. 2. Civil liabilities. Restitution. You will likely be required to pay restitution to the owner for the value of the horse, veterinary bills, and other associated costs.
So this is Deuteronomy 24:6. It says, no man shall take the nethers of the upper millstone, which basically be a hand mill, or way that someone takes and grind mill, grain, which is like it's their way of making ends meet, basically, right? Being able to feed their family, work like a job. You go to work, you're able to make the money so you can feed your family, so to speak. Or upper millstone to pledge for a debt. So you're doing these things, and what you're doing is you're putting people in debt. For he taketh a man's life. So really, you're taking a man's life by putting these increases on society. And then basically it puts people in debt, right? to pledge, right? So then you got to pay debt with debt in order to survive. So all you're doing is just falling into a hole. You got people jammed up, you know, and yeah, that's just not right. That's not right. That you're making people be in debt, right? Because matter of fact, yeah, let's go with that one. Nethers, right?
Strong's H 7347. Reche.
Reha, that's what they say. It says, yeah, hand mill, right? So you take it and you grind it. You use it to a pair of millstones for grinding, right? You take the two, you got the hand millstone and you have the millstone, and you take that millstone and you make you make the other one meet the other millstone, and the grain be in between, and so you're working, and you make that turn into like a powder, and eventually, you're able to make bread out of that, you know, and you're able to feed your family. It's basically going into modern day now. It's just you going to work, but you can't pay for gas because they're raising up gas prices. They're raising up rental prices. They're raising up all these different prices, and it's hard for you to be able to make it. These people are supposed to be the people of God, and they should know you can't do that, man. Right? See, this one says pledge. Yeah, to take a pledge, to be in a pledge, right? To bind, right? Because that's what you're doing. You're putting people in a bind, man. Right? You're gonna blow up the field, and unless, like I said, you know that's not an accident, right? Because you're the people who do false flags all the time. And if you can make $1 out of it, you know what I mean? Let no crisis go to waste, right? Take hold by pledge. Yeah, see, and what's going to happen is you're going to take a hold of everything by pledge, because it's going to create chaotic times. And during these chaotic times, which is what order out of chaos, to destroy, to ruin, right? And you're going to ruin what's left of the fabric of America. Yes, to bring forth to travail, yeah. And that's what people are going to be doing, because this is going to bring forth the birth pains. You're going to be like a woman in travail, a woman about to give birth. Yeah, they're going to have it twisted, travail. Everybody's going to be twisted, man. Your pockets ain't going to look right. Now you got to pay this astronomical price for gas, for your groceries, for your cost of living. And then people are already living paycheck to paycheck. So how much further would it be with more pressure upon you, right? This is Ezekiel chapter 18, verse 12. Hath oppressed the poor. Yeah, because ultimately that's what happened. You have oppressed the poor and needy, and have spoiled by violence. And that's what you're doing right now. You're doing all sorts of violent acts over there in Iran, over in all through the Middle East, all the way up into the Ukraine, right? All the way over here in America, right? You're just sending out violence throughout the entire world, right? Showing that you are the one, the red horse. You're Esau. You're set up to take peace from the earth. It makes all the sense in the world, which is going to bring in that black horse, which is going to set up. You're going to have a day's wages to eat, right? Because normally a day's wage would carry, maybe you make a day's wage, it's enough to buy you maybe a meal for 3 days, 2 days in a row, 3 days in a row. But a day's wage is gonna cost you it's gonna cost you a day's wage to buy a meal, right? Not to mention, it says by a balance. If you notice, if you go anywhere, they're weighing your food now. Right? You go to Wendy's, who else? I went somewhere else and I was surprised they had the thing on. They were weighing it. You know? Dang, I can't remember what place I was at, and I tripped out. They put it on the scale. But yeah, they're weighing your food even right now. So what you spoil, which means to rob. You're taking people's oil fields and you're doing this and that. That's robbery, bro. That oil field don't belong to you. You gotta repay them. Not to mention you're hurting the people over here. A horse, though we don't use horses to like we used to. It's a car, but you're still hurting our ability to make our daily bread, right? To go to work and sustain ourselves. And then it's supposed to be just throw it up in the air. Yeah, they threw some missiles at it. It's burning. Oh well, so-called Trump is mad, but what's going to be done? When are they going to pay back? When are you going to talk about them paying back? Paying back the Iranis for doing it, and also paying us back for putting us in a condition like that we have to pay more. Because if you're the people of God, and then you're the spiritual people of God, then you're supposed to do the things that God say, right? Right? And have not restored the pledges, right? You haven't restored the things that you have done and put people in debt. So you're just here to oppress and never pay back, right? And it says, and he have lifted up his eyes to the idols, right? And that's what you're doing to Satan, over looking into the quasars and the stars, and worshiping the moon and the stars, and committing sacrifices, whether if it's children or celebrities or whoever you're doing to appease these to Satan, to get your energy, right? To these idols, and have committed abominations, right? Yeah, and you do that too. You commit abominations doing that, which we found that out during the Epstein list, right? Bill Clinton, fellatio to Bill Clinton and all this other stuff, and then out of that same mouth, you're talking cash shit to the world, telling the world they need to bow down to you, and you're gonna do this the easy way. You're gonna do this the hard way, right? You're the tough guy after you've been on your knees with Bubba. That's crazy. It says, have given forth upon, and have given, right? This is because it says that if the wicked show mercy, right, he do it unwillingly, right? Also talks about how you're cruel, right? He have given forth upon usury. So when you do so-called help people, you're like, yeah, well, I got help for you. I got some help for you. And then when you give it to him, you give it upon usury, and have taken increase, right? Shall he then live? So since you've done this, should your kingdom go on forever? Should you have the thought in your mind that you'll put your name on everything, that your kingdom may go on forever? You shouldn't, but you do. You put your name on all these different things, and in fact, figuring your kingdom's going to go on forever, because you got it all planned out, right? We're going to do this. We're going to go in and take that. We're going to force them to have the Rothschild Central Bank. Everybody's going to go micro C-HIP. The world's going to go digital. Everybody's going to get controlled and surveillanced. This is going to be the law. The law is going to be our strength, right? And our king, we're going to go on. But should you live? Should you live that you have that since you've done that? He shall not live. See, you're not going to go on. You're not going to live on. Your kingdom is not going to go on. Esau is the end of this world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. We can't get enough of saying that. We can't get enough of hearing that, right? We can't get enough of reading that, because your kingdom is done, man. You is your 250th year via July 4th of 2026, and your kingdom is out of here, bro. Right? He have not done it. He hath done all these abominations, right? Let's see, because you've done all these different abominations, right? Man with man, women with women. Hey, putting your brother to the usury, man. Getting your stuff off of increase, and then looking back and just laughing. Yeah, it's no big deal. We're gonna bleed you dry, right? He shall surely, yeah, you're gonna surely die. His blood shall be upon him. See, and so all this thing is gonna be it's gonna be no fault of your own, right? Because you, as the Israelis, says that you're the people, so you're gonna be judged by the standard. And in America, said they're a Bible believing nation, and they're the spiritual Israelites. So you're gonna be judged by these. See, you know these are the laws do exist, right? But they want to say, these the black Hebrew. Well, when the Lord comes back, what do he judge things off of? Where's the actual judgments? If you just only deal with the New Testament, where's the judgments at? There's no judgments in the New Testament like that. Besides, if who writes or add or take from the book, that's in there, right? But that's in Deuteronomy, showing you that there's no there's no separation, because it's one book. There's really no such thing as Old Testament and New Testament. It's one continuous book, right? Yeah, so this is we can't get enough of this. This 2nd Ezra chapter 6 verse 8, and he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born, of him Jacob's hand held fast the heel of Esau, which means, he wouldn't let it go. All right. For Esau is the end of the world. Right. See, you're in your rule. You're in your rulership, but your rulership is coming to an end. For Esau's the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. The hand is betwixt the heel and the hand. Other questions Ezra asked us not. Right? So this is the end of your reign and your rule. Right? Yeah, collectively, basically, you're the Edomites, whether you're basically Amalek, and then, you're Rome all over again. Right? Rome 2.0. So you're Esau, America. Right? Because even your own so-called counterparts, the rabbis, say that America is Edom, and they're the Romans all over again, right? But what it is you're also Esau, and you're Amalek, right? So Jeremiah chapter 49 verse 17, also Edom, right, which means all of Edom, no matter what tribe of Edom you're from, shall be a desolation. Everyone that goeth by it shall be astonished, and shall hiss at all the plagues thereof, right? Which are going to be the ICBM missiles, right? The chariot on top, right? And that's just giving you the end from the beginning, but then there's all sorts of other things too. What? People are already saying, look, have you become weak as we? You're running out of ammunition. You're bombing oil fields. People are narrowly looking upon you, right? People don't have the admiration and things that they had for the Israelis or for America, right? As in the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighboring cities thereof, saith Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, no man shall abide, neither shall the Son of Man dwell in it, right? So this place is going to be a wasteland, a desert, America. But right along with Israel is, Israel's going to be built back up, but you're not going to be there no more. Right? The Iron Dome is not going to protect you. The Golden Dome is not going to be able to protect you. Right? Yeah, so this is Matthew chapter 18, verse 29. Yeah, and his fellow servant fell down at his feet. And it says fellow servants because even though you're rich and I'm poor, we all have to meet the maker. We all have to stand before Yahweh Shai, right? Which was given the power from the Most High. So he's in full authority to judge us, everything, right? So we're all going to sit before that white throne room of judgment, that seat of judgment. So you're a fellow person. You're just a human. You know, we breathe the same air, which is now polluted because of you, right? But we're breathing the same air, and you're really no better than me. It's just you're supposed to be the steward of the world, and you're supposed to govern as a steward in a right fashion, but you don't, right? Just why you're the unjust steward, right? So the fellow servant fell down at his feet, and that's what we all got to do. We're at the feet of you, man. You're on top, and we're always at the feet of you, right? Which basically means we're servants, we're slaves, and you're the one who's blessed, right? Because that's the true meaning of licking the dust, right? Which Elder Apostle brought that out, Apostle Tahar, and besought him, right, to plead, to beg with him, please, right, and saying, have pity, have patience with me, and I will pay thee all, right? So have some patience, and I'll pay you, right? Basically, suffer with me, you know, as I suffer with you. You know, we all should have to suffer. See, but you know who suffers? Only the poor and the needy, right? And they know that. To prove that is what the thing that they came out and said during the COVID, saying that the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians, the poor and overlooked, the poor and disenfranchised, right? So which you know that there's people that's overlooked, right? But all of a sudden you wanted to help, right? You cared, which we knew. I knew that was a trick. If all of a sudden the devil, he cares, yeah, you in trouble, right? And it says, and he would not, but went and cast him into prison. And that's what you plan to do with all of us. If we don't get down with the program, we're bound to be cast into prisons. The scripture says 10 days, which however amount of numbers, but it says, well, be faithful unto death. So it means in that process, you could be put to death while you're in that prison, right? Till he should pay the debt, right? See, and that's what you're saying. You're saying that we got to be in this position until we die, because there ain't no getting out of this debt. You plan on putting the micro C hip in everybody, saying that there ain't no escape from your debt. You're not trying to forgive student loan debts and all that other stuff. No forgiveness of debts. But what happened to the year of release? What happened to the Jubilee? Right? You're saying a great reset, but you're not resetting everything. You're just going to carry it over. Right? So when his fellow servants saw what was done, right? And these are all the people that's praying, right? They're praying. And then the people who have died, right? They're contesting against you. They're telling the Most High. Saw what was done. They were very sorry, right? Hey, man, people have this admiration for this place, America. They have this great admiration for the Israel and Israelis over there, right? But then when you find out who these people really are, you end up sorry. You know what I'm saying? You find out they're the devil, you end up sorry, and came and told unto their Lord, which is Yahweh Shai, all that was done. See, and everything you're doing, it's not going escaped. Like you're just pulling over some wool over the Most High's eye, or even over the people, because now people are making supplications to the Most High, prayers. Then his Lord, after that he had called him, said unto him, "O thou wicked servant." See, that's you, Esau. You're the wicked servant. I forgave thee all thy debt. See, the Lord forgave you for your debt. Or at least he tried to. He was, you know what I mean? He was trying to forgive you for your debt. He said, hey, look, don't worry about it. Sin lieth at the door. But Cain rose up and slew Abel anyway. right? So that same spirit of Cain is in the earth once again, and you're mad, right? But the Lord forgave thee. I forgave thee of all thy debt, because thou desired me, desired it, desires it me, right? So oh Lord, please forgive me. What did it say? He said, this sin is too heavy to bear. They're gonna kill me. So Lord, he put a mark on you, so no one, whoever does this thing to, but then you take advantage of that. Oh, if they do, we're gonna come down. We're gonna come down with the hammer on them. We're gonna throw the book at them. The law is our strength. We're gonna throw the book at them, because we're in the power. We're in the rulership. So should it not thou also have had compassion on thy fellow servant? So you should have compassion on your fellow human race, right? Since everybody's the same, right? And we're all Christians and Israelites and spiritual Israelites, right? Even as I had pity on thee, right? And his Lord was wroth, right? And that's what's going to happen. The Most High is going to be, well, he's already upset. He's very past upset, and delivered him to the torment, right? You're going to go on 1,000 years of slavery, and then Obadiah 1:18, right? Till he should pay all that he done unto him, right? And that's what I'm going to say. That Obadiah 1:18 is going to happen to you, right? So likewise shall my heavenly Father do also to you, if ye from your heart, la'ab, your mind, forget not every one, or forgive not every one his brother their trespass. Hey, the Lord's gonna, you're gonna be a castaway, man. You're gonna get destroyed if you don't forgive every brother his sin, because you want your sins to be forgiven, or your trespasses, or your debts and things like that. And instead of increasing debts and doing false flags in order to make more money, when you're already the richest people on the planet, you own the bank. You are the bank. You could decide to print money or not print money. Matter of fact, you have the power to say, we're never going to print money. We're going to make it digital. You have the power, but you're still going to oppress the poor and needy, man. It ain't right. So you're going to get a judgment, man. Yeah. So this is Ecclesiasticus 14, also known as Sirach, verse 2, 14 and 2. Blessed is he whose conscience, right? Because it was talking about, having that mind hath not condemned him, and who is not fallen from his hope in Yahushua Hamashiach, which that's Esau, man. His confidence had been fallen from Yahushua Hamashiach, or Yahweh at the time, Yahweh, but he don't love Yahushua either, right? Basically, so he's already condemned. He did not believe it in the Lord is Yahushua is condemned already. So he don't believe in Yahushua, right? So riches are not comely for a niggard, right? So that's ultimately what he is. He's just a niggard, right? Right? And it goes into, when you're a niggard, it goes into being greedy, right? And that's this guy. He's just super greedy. He'll make false flag events and things just so he can make more money. It's not bad enough that people are already dying and this and that, but like the scripture say, you haven't hated blood, so blood is going to pursue you pretty soon. And what should an envious man do with money, right? He gathereth by defrauding his own soul, gathereth for others. So you're gathering for the elect, right? You're gonna gather this really for the elect. You're gonna gather this for the Israelites as a whole, because all Israel shall be saved, right? But you're putting a snare to your own soul by doing that, right? Being so greedy, you're doing this by defraud, making false flag, setting up things so you can make more money. Yeah. It says for others that shall spin his goods riotously, right? And that's what you do. You spend your money riotously, right? Because when you go into that word riotously, yeah, so this is AI overview. Riotously is an adverb describing actions due to excessively noisy. See, and that's what you do. You make a lot of freaking noise. It says, just skip down right here. Uncontrolled, right? And that's what you do. Uncontrolled, disorderly manner, often relating to wild celebrations, laughter, or was this chaotic behavior, right? And that's ultimately what you're doing, because what it says right here, including wildly or uproariously, right? And that's what it is. You're making a lot of noise, especially when you're spending money in a wild, crazy manner. Like that's what it's saying, a wild, disordered manner, uncontrollable. When you're spending $4 million on a missile, and then these people are bringing in maybe a $20,000 freaking Toys R Us or Radio Shack a drone and decimating your arsenal, decimating your military and all that stuff. It just don't make sense. You know, you're just a niggard, and the money is not comely for you. The rulership is not comely for you. So that's why the Lord's going to take you out of rulership. So call halalim Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Racha HaKodash. I'd like to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well, to the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds, preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, the elect, shalom, to the Israelite foreigners whose phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father, and have come back to the fold, shalom, to you sisters, you achwathium, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence, and above all, Kwam Yasharallah.